2019 on ITV Benin, a major focus is on the threats by the National Assembly to sanction the president, talking about President Muhammadu Buhari, by invoking the relevant constitution. The question has been, does the president deserve such a sanction from the National Assembly? And also on the road to 2019 is the conferment of national honor on a former presidential candidate, a man adjudged to be the winner of the 1993 presidential election, talking about Chief MKO Abiola. Well, reactions have trailed that particular action by the presidency. Of course, we know that the president has already given an executive order for that action to be gazetted. But it still won't stop those reacting, commenting, and all of that to take place. Just yesterday in Edo State, a former council chairman, specifically the former chairman of the Buhari local government, defected from the ruling APC to the People's Democratic Party. Just to highlight some of the big things on the road to 2019 that we're highlighting today on the show. But let's quickly meet our guest analyst. I'd like to thank very especially the Executive Director, Foundation for Good Governance and Social Change, Comrade Austin Osakwe. Comrade, many thanks for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much. Good evening and good evening, viewers.
I also want to welcome Barrister Sonny Daudu. He's a legal practitioner. Barrister Daudu, many thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Well, let's start off with the threats by the National Assembly. We saw the two leaders of the National Assembly, the Senate President and the Speaker House of Representatives, in that joint sitting, releasing those statements. Well, people interpreted that action in different ways. Some said they were threats of impeachment against Mr. President.
Resolved as follows.
It was just a warning from the National Assembly to
the security agencies.
Some people said that this is tantamount
must be
to the
given
National Assembly constituting itself as the opposition party in Nigeria against the executive. On what plank are you going to rest your opinion, comrade?
Well, to understand basically what transpired, let us first educate our viewers that we have three traditional arms of government. The legislature is to make laws for the order and good governance of the country. And of course, alongside that, they have oversight functions over ministries, departments, and agencies of government, all geared towards good governance. The executive has the responsibility of implementing the laws so made by the legislature. And then, of course, we have the judiciary as the arbiter. They interpret the laws and they apportion blames where necessary. There is no watertight separation of powers, but there is separation of powers to the extent that no arm of government should pretend or interfere in the affairs of the others. But to the extent that each of them must play their roles in accordance, strictly in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution and other extant laws. To that extent, therefore, what happened in the National Assembly was a reawakening. A reawakening in the sense that over time we have seen certain excesses to which the National Assembly itself has drawn attention. We have seen excesses that members of the public, indeed opposition parties, even members of the ruling party have drawn attention to. You see, people should not be in a haste to jump to a conclusion that there appears to be some gang-up. Because the Senate, as we speak today, the Senate President and the Speaker of the House of Representatives are both members of the ruling party, the APC.
Two,
of which the President
the systemic
is.
Harassment.
So it is not an opposition party.
By the executive
just have a situation where
of perceived
an arm of
political
government
opponents,
that appears to have been docile,
people with contrary opinions,
a lot of
including legislators
to
and
pass
judiciary,
through unchecked,
by the police and other security agencies,
must
stake.
Stop. Suddenly realize that if they
there must be
their authority,
three, there must be strict adherence to the rule of law
that they have noticed.
and protection for all citizens
by way of details, what exactly
by the president and all his appointees.
A situation where the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria,
the president must be held accountable
sends an invitation to a
for the actions of his appointees
to appear before
and
him,
must be ready to
give
sanction
certain explanations. And the Inspector General turns it down with a wave of the hand as if it didn't matter. A situation where the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, in the exercise of its constitutional role, has refused to clear certain officers of government, chief among which is the EFCC chairman. And the man is still on seat. And we are pretending that it doesn't matter. And some people have even come up to say the chairman of the EFCC didn't need any clearance. Why was his name, not once, not twice, sent to the Senate? Was it to fulfill all righteousness? If he didn't need clearance, why was his name sent there? Not too long ago, the president told the nation that before seeking permission to so do, he had withdrawn millions of dollars of Nigeria's money, almost to the tune of 1 billion, to the effect that he was in a hurry to make certain purchases so as to further the security apparatus or architecture. Expressly, he needed to seek permission, to seek leave of Senate, get their approval to so do, but he went ahead to do it anyway, and they say it was preemptive spending. When you put this together along with several other infractions, what the Senate and the House of Reps did in a joint session was long overdue. Essentially, therefore, what I think is that there is nobody that is above the law, including the officers
or endanger our country and our democracy.
If indeed they err,
5.
the National Assembly itself should
the government should show sincerity
there are
to fight
to
against corruption,
to take them out of
by
office.
not being selective,
if anybody
and also
in the
prosecute current appointees
Mr. President himself,
that have
those
cases
who put the provisions for impeachment there, and went further to
6.
say that the court could
sanctity
not
of the National Assembly should be protected
the exercise of that
and preserved
right
by the
under the
government
Constitution.
by not interfering in the business of the
own.
National Assembly
It wasn't charged.
and
It wasn't
prosecute
moonlight
those.
play. It is because they knew that a time would come that would necessitate the exercise of those provisional powers. So essentially, therefore, it doesn't matter. For me, what is important is that every arm of government must rise to the occasion to play their role. I think the hoopla, the hue and cry over this is that the National Assembly itself had not lived up to expectation for some time now. What Nigerians expect is that the National Assembly should zero in on those issues that touch on their survival. What tangible thing has the National Assembly done so far to check security? Yes, it could be argued that is within the ambit of the responsibilities of the executive. But they are the lawmakers. They are the ones who carry oversight functions.
I'm sure probably that's part of the reason they invited the IGP. It's
part of it, certainly. They have met with several chiefs. But we expect that if the laws in our law books are not enough in view of the realities, the present realities, then they should do everything they can to do for that. For instance, several states have promulgated, have enacted an anti-grazing law. And yet, you have the Minister of Defense saying that the anti-grazing law was to no effect and they should abrogate it. And we have a National Assembly that should make laws. What have they said? What have they done regarding these efforts by states to come? So that these are some of the things I'm talking about. And then, have they made enough laws, enough oversight, display oversight functions to intervene in the crushing economic hardship that Nigerians are undergoing, the poverty that faces Nigeria, the apparent breakdown of social services? These are some of the things we are talking about.
Comrade, let me pause you there. If you just join us, you're on to Road to 2019 on independent television satellite, channel 107, on Go TV, and channel 130 on Star Times, with yours sincerely, Sonny Duke Okosun. Today, we're examining the threats by the National Assembly to invoke relevant sections of the Constitution to put Mr. President to order in their own words. So we're interrogating that on the program as our start-off point on the conversation today. Our WhatsApp number is on. Remember, you can also follow the program even after we are done with on YouTube, youtube.com/ITV Radio NG, as well as on our Facebook page, facebook.com/ITV Radio NG. On our Twitter handle, at ITV Radio NG. Follow me on my Twitter handle. I'll follow you back at Duke Okosun. Now, Barrister Sonny Dauda, let me come to you quickly. For some, all of these actions by the National Assembly is for self-preservation against the background that 2019 is just around the corner, and there were talks about a meeting between the NPDP, new PDP, and then the vice president, or the president as it were, which didn't really come out in a fruitful manner. So what do you make of this? Can we hold on to that as a basis for all that is happening on the end from the National Assembly?
Well, let me say here that the National Assembly, as the comrade has said, is one of the organs of government whose function is to make laws for the good governance of this country. And where necessary also to carry out oversight functions on the executive, including the president. The correct actions of the National Assembly is only in the exercise of their constitutional function. Now, you see, there are problems in the country
to seize the mace,
which the National Assembly are now also aligning themselves with the masses.
Elections
that the executive of government have not been able to actually,
by removing the present reign of fear.
You see, they are all the same party.
Particularly as we approach
the National Assembly, at least
elections.
A vast majority of them, or 60% of them, are members of the ruling All Progressive Congress. So if they feel that the policies of their party
ECOWAS Parliament
have not been implemented by the executive, because the National Assembly is to make laws, make policies, but these policies must be implemented by the executive arm of government. If they feel that these policies have not been implemented and they are detrimental to their party, to which all of them belong, of course, they could set the necessary machinery in motion to check the excesses of the executive arm of government. One of that such way is by oversight function, by inviting, for instance, persons that are in the executive, either ministers of police affairs, or for instance, in this case, the IG that has been invited, that has refused with reckless abandon to honor an invitation of an institution of government. To me, it's an abuse of power, abuse of the principles of democracy, and a flagrant disregard to the tenets of democracy. If an arm of government, I've asked the question somewhere, that assuming it is the president that asked the IGP, for instance, to come and brief the Executive Council, the Federal Executive Council, on issues, will he refuse to go?
Nobody has once refused to go to Benue when he was directed, and the Mr. President didn't know about it. Eventually, when he knew about it, he didn't do anything. So
no.
Yeah.
You see, that is not correct. You see, I don't want to go into historical evolution of the connections or the nexus between the current IGP and the president. Let me just say it here without undermining the process of governance. I can tell you that the IGP, for him to emerge as IGP, several persons who were senior to him were retired.
25 of them.
Who were senior to him, who could have been IGP, but they retired them just to pave way for him. What was the reason? It has never happened. What is only happened is that when the IG is going down, the deputies go down. Even in this case, AIG goes down that were senior to him, just to enable he comes. So there is a nexus between, there is a relationship between the IGP and the president that we don't know. How will you say that I'm an appointee? Somebody appointed. I sent him a message, did he go at it? No, you must call him to order. I sent you to do ABC. Even when you said he has gone, he must report back to you, sir. It's not only just going and you did it. Even if he has gone, you must come bring back the message. I have gone there, this is my findings. It's not that he didn't go. That he didn't go is one offense. That he ought to go, and not only go, must bring back a message to the president. A person you sent a message. Well, it's like you send a child, go and buy bread. He buys the bread on the road, he eats it. Or he didn't go at all. They have the same thing. So it's not enough for Buhari to say that he said the president also didn't check in and as such. So there is something that we don't know about the president and the IGP. And so many other issues. For instance, just the issue he alluded to. Mago, the EFCC chair. He's still there on other capacity. We have argued that the law, the National Assembly should also wake up call to amend the law of the IFCC to state that you can only act for social number of period. You cannot continue to act forever. So if the National Assembly's power is to confirm a candidate for a political position or for any position whatsoever established by law, and that Senate or National Assembly has not confirmed and the person is parading himself in that office, it's illegal. It's illegality. It's illegality. If the majority remain there ad infinitum or in perpetuity without his confirmation and it's just there and the president didn't see anything wrong with it, the National Assembly should wake up to amend the relevant position of Nigerian law that any position that is subject to the confirmation of the Senate or the National Assembly must be within, you can only ask for social time. They should start put the necessary law in motion to amend certain laws in the country so that this exercise of power by either the president and okay, if I'm affected by the president, I can do whatever I like and nobody will check me. Once the president is okay with it, no, we can't continue like that in this country. We must do what is good. Okay. We must do what is good for the eye of the common man, for the people, for the enlightened, so that at the end of the day we can move the country forward. Our interest is that we must develop. And how do we develop? Is by ensuring that we comply ourselves with the tenets. There are tenets of democracy. One of them is obedience to the rule of law. If the rule of law is not obeyed by those who govern us, how do you now allow the common man to obey the law? Okay, let me push it there. Comrade, some have described this as the usual politicking by politicians, especially when there is a major election just around the corner. And then, in addition, the party's convention is just around the corner. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you very clearly that, and I've had cause to say it at several fora, Nigerians are getting more sophisticated. Nigerians are getting wiser. Take a look at it. Even your own children at home, it's not the way you were brought up that you are bringing the children up now. The information age, ICT, ensures that even our little children may be more knowledgeable than us. There are things we tell them now they are not going to accept hook, line, and sinker. They will ask you why. We didn't dare ask our parents why, for what reason. That has changed. The country is becoming more complicated, and it's a global thing. It's a global trend. So politicians must do more now to earn the trust of the people, to earn the confidence of the people. The people will reward hard work. They will also punish failure. So, yes, politics will be politics, politicians will be politicians. I think a lot of what is happening, it's easy to put them at the threshold of, is the normal gymnastics, the normal shenanigans of politicians to gain power. But it's more than that. There is increasing pressure on the ruling class to deliver on promises. Before now, people didn't go around waving a list of promises made by an incumbent. But today, just wait for a few months when the campaign starts. A lot of us have a list of promises made by Mr. President. He is no longer going to be judged on promises. He can't come and make promises. He is now going to answer questions on what he has done to redeem the promises he made 3 years ago. So there is pressure on the National Assembly members too. They go home, their constituents are saying, are these the crop of people that we voted for to go and represent us? How, for instance, can people be terrorized in their communities by herdsmen And they have representatives not just in the local assembly, but also in the National Assembly.
And in state assemblies as well.
The state assemblies are there. And people are being terrorized. They are crying. They are helpless to the extent that people can't even go to their farms. We had a live relay of one of those who were kidnapped recently, how the ordeal he went through, and the seeming helplessness, both on the personal note, on the community note, and on the part of security agencies. So people are asking questions wherever they are. Where are the people we elected? Where are the people we voted for? Are they going to just leave us like this? So people are saying, I hope they will come back very soon to ask us for votes again. So the National Assembly members also need to know. And I think they are aware. So they are sitting up. Elections are drawing near. They are sitting up knowing that the time for judgment has come.
Judgment day has come.
As it is for the executive, so it is for the parliament. And the totality of all of these is that the standards are higher. The bar has been raised. While you are looking at those who are there now, knowing what they are passing through, those who are also aspiring to go must also be rating themselves. The standard of expectation, the level of expectation by the people of their leaders is higher now. People are not saying it's not just enough to come and do roads and put it on television. No. They are making more demands. And those who were never interested in how their affairs were run are becoming more interested. The elite, the young people, the women, the physically challenged, the people in the rural communities, those in the urban centers, they are showing increasing concern, increasing interest. And that puts pressure. And that for me is the positive to take away. That it is no longer business as usual. And this trend is going to continue progressively until we have a situation where people will no longer find it funny. They won't just wake up and run into government. They will think twice before seeking the people's mandate.
Mr. Sonny Daudu, I've heard people say what is most intriguing about this seeming face-off every now and then between the National Assembly and the executive is the fact that the executive is controlled by the APC, the ruling party. The National Assembly is controlled by the ruling party, the APC. Yet you have this frequent disagreement every now and then. What does this portend for the party ahead of the 2019 election?
Well, let me, if I may just allude to some facts that I believe is one of the reasons for this seemingly controversy and lack of cohesion or harmonious relationship between the two arms of government, or generally between the government itself, is that the actors of APC do not have the same political ideology, orientation, or the same focus. You could remember that the APC was hurriedly put together by various interest political parties, CPC, AC, later ACN, and so many other, ANPP, and so many other. So they just came together not as a party of cohesion. It's a party that was put together just for the purpose of seizing political government or political power from the incumbent, the PDP. So they found themselves in government. So they don't have the same ideology. They don't have the same background. The Senate President was former PDP, was a PDP governor for 8 years. And so many persons I can mention that they were not actually. Tinubu was AD, governor for 8 years. I can go on and on. The president was from CPC. So you could see that they do not really have that cohesion. They do not have that resemblance of same to drive a political decision that will be of benefit. So that's why you see them, this one bring his policy, this one bring his policy. They are not able to harmonize. And this inability to harmonize also led to the friction that led to the disagreement and or who become the leader of the National Assembly, either by virtue of being a Senate president or speaker. You could remember that in the West, they were pushing for speaker, so that they will have the speaker. But events turned the other way around. They gave them deputy speaker. They insisted that they would still get the leader of the house, even when they have gotten the speaker. They insisted, even when the speaker was ordinarily zoned to the south-south. They gave it to them because of the pressure of the leaders in the West. So as I speak to you, which I have said in some other fora, the speaker of the house of, the deputy speaker is from West, the majority leader is from West, the vice president is from West. Now, go to Senate. They prefer Lawan to become the Senate president. Then some members of the PDP gang up with some members of the APC and produce Saraki. All these fictions are still with them. So in the end, there is no cohesion, either on policy or of mind, or of orientation, or ideology, or call it whatever name you want to call it. So we are the party, because of this vision, are not able to deliver the political dividends of democracy that the people want.
Well, that could be a subjective opinion.
No, it's not subjective, sir. I say these things in practice. I have told you, sir, that, for instance, the issue of herdsmen. They say schools, hospitals, churches are being burnt now. A proactive government, for instance, as I have said, practical things. I have a direct policy with the state government to ensure that funds are released to both local government, which they call matching grant and all of that. First all schools round, primary school, secondary school, and ensure that there are policemen mounting them, at least 2. It's not done now. If, for instance, the primary school in Oluku is attacked today, you now start taking reactive action. There are reactive and proactive actions. Reactive is after the event. Are they doing that? Those are practical things. You don't need to say subjective. There are practical things you should do. For instance, I have said that when the priest and others, about 17 others, were killed in Benue, what is supposed to be done immediately, for instance, even if there was no proactive action? The Minister of Interior should have been sent there immediately. Either to pay a condolence visit to the priesthood in that area, or to the immediate families of the deceased. As I speak to you, I'm now aware that either the president or his agent or his privy or anybody whatsoever from the presidency or from the executive arm of government paid any form of visit to the people. And as I speak to you, those areas are still vulnerable. What is the security architecture in those areas? I am saying that issues of development are practical and not theoretical.
Okay, let me pause you there. Comrade, what do you make of the position that the NPDP is a major factor in this whole equation? National Assembly on the one side, the executive on the other side.
It's very akin to a pregnancy. A pregnancy that is waiting for delivery. I've heard people say that it doesn't matter, it will fizzle out. And I said, well, is that so? This NPDP were the ones who signaled the death knell of PDP in the last election. A situation where about 5 governors moved out of the party at the last minute and teamed up with the opposition with their resources. You know how the thing is done in Nigeria. The governor of a state is, after God is the governor. He has the resources at his disposal. He can, in the name of security vote, move out 3 billion and they retire it. These governors brought out their resources, their followership into the opposition and crippled the federal government. That's what led to the defeat of Jonathan. They are still intact, which alludes to the point made by the very learned Sonu Daudu, that what you have as APC is a contraption. It's like the Frankenstein monster. The head belongs to one side, the hand is another one, the leg is another one, just hurriedly pieced together. There has not been a harmonization. There has not been a systematic integration of these groups into one whole. So they still think independent. Look, when the president announced at the onset of his administration that he was not interested in who became what in the National Assembly, I came here in a public program and I stated that that is the height of political naivety. It's either the president was naive or he was lying, but we now know that it was naivety. Perhaps a little of the other one. Because you said the party, PDP joined some APC people and ganged up and produced the president. You have not talked of the deputy senate president. It's a PDP man. So while the president was meeting somewhere and saying, I'm not interested, I'm a Democrat, it's for everybody and for nobody, the various groups inside held the meeting, came together, did an election, produced somebody who came yesterday from the other side and made him president, and produced somebody who was still there and made that one deputy senate president. From that point on, sleep was murdered, and none of them has had sleep since then. It's just that it's now affecting Nigerians. The time we should use to look, there are caucuses. There are times when the president has a major policy direction he wants to articulate. He will call the caucus of the party in the Senate and the House of Reps. They will meet in the night. When they come out the next day, the thing comes out, is flowing, is being funded, and Nigerians are feeling it. That's the way it's supposed to be. But this president can't even meet with the caucus. They are strange bedfellows. So it is difficult for the executive to drive any policy through. As I said, this is June. Are we not still talking of passing budget now? We are getting to a point in this country where some people begin to argue now that there's no need for budget. Because every year before the budget is passed, the money is finished. Because once you pass a budget, 2 months later, we are presenting another one. So what is the budget for? All these are evidences of lack of coherence within the party.
But there's supposed to be a party leadership that is supposed to act as a bridge between these various arms of government, because supposedly the key actors, the key players are members of the party. So has the party also lost its focus in dealing with that?
You know, when you say there's supposed to be a party leadership, I underline the word supposed. This is 3 years on. The APC is ready for elections in another 8 months. They have not had one convention. Not one convention to pick leaders. So the people who were elected in the heat of that confusion when they were coming together are still there. The party is like a rudderless ship looking for a captain to come and head it. That is why the candidature of Comrade Oshomole, whether you like him or not, the man is who he is. The party realizes that it is that kind of person that they need now. Not a chairman who is, it is when you hear his name that you remember that he's there. The chairman of a political party, especially a party that is undergoing crisis, must be one that is upstanding, one that is mobile, one that is bold enough to address every issue and get to the bottom of it. One that will move from one place to another, not the one that will be looking for contract or submitting names for appointments. One that has access to the president. One that has access to the leadership of the Senate and the House of Reps. One that is in touch with the governors. One that can call meetings and people will attend. We have not had that. Even among the leadership, there is several quarrels among them. There's a certain personality called Frank who is shouting now that they are after his life. You are wondering, the executive of the party. So essentially, therefore, the confusion you see, the rudderlessness you see, the seeming directionlessness you see, is a reflection of weak leadership. Indeed, almost a non-existent leadership. That's why they are believing that once they hold this Congress on the 23rd of this month, thereabouts, perhaps the party will have a breather.
A party that parades the likes of the former governor of Lagos State at the leadership level can draw strength from such a personality to be able to drive some of these issues and bring it to logical conclusions?
This man you are talking about, how many congresses were held in the state? That's one state out of 36. Is it the man who couldn't have a single congress in his state that is going to ensure that there is harmony in the entire country? I mean, let's face it. The Tinubu of that period, 5 years ago in 2013, who was a wheeler dealer, bringing everybody in, using his resources, making the opposition attractive. It's not the same Tinubu that you find today. The man is wounded in the political field. In fact, he's tasking his will now to ensure that the Lagos structure of the party is within his grasp. Certain primaries have been held in Yoruba land, where he held sway. He has not been able to influence anything there. And for your information, and this is scary, if I were an APC member, I would be scared. In the past 1 month, certain by-elections have been held in states controlled by the APC. The last one is the by-election into the local government in Kaduna. The PDP got very easily. An election organized by the APC. What of Oyo, where a seat was filled? Organized by INEC, taken by the PDP. And we have an election looming in Ekiti. We have another one looming in Osun. You know, when accidents want to happen to people, the victims of those accidents are usually the last to see it coming. The opposition is eating at the seams. But you know, arrogance, pride, and the same thing that PDP demonstrated. PDP said they were going to rule this country for 60 years. Some say 60, some say 80 years. Then one quit there is forever. A few years after that boast, they found themselves in opposition. So the point being made, sir, is that the reason some of us fear is that when a ruling party as big as the APC cannot get it right, it is the country that suffers. Because the ruling party at the center is the ruling party in not less than almost 30 states. When such a party gets itself embroiled in crisis, it means that number one, it can't focus on development. It can't promote good governance. It cannot lead by example. It weakens the structures and institutions upon which the country rests. It is the people who suffer. That's our fear.
Okay, let's pursue there. Some few comments you want to add to this last part of our conversation, Barrister Daud, before we take a break?
Yes, let me quickly just lie with him on some issues that he raised. First is the issue of the structure of the party. You see, I pray that they quickly do that quickly now, because they know the weight of Ushumole. If they have quickly done all these things that they are trying to do now, they know the weight of Ushumole in ensuring that all of this, because I have mentioned in the program here that there is what we call a party structure that controls the government. Because the party has a policy, they have programs, they have manifestos, which they said they will implement. The party must at all time and purposes ask the president or the executive, how far has his programs been implemented? I think Oshomole will stand in that step.
Okay, let it not look like we're
trying
to
let me quickly
for him.
Yes,
Because
doesn't become a campaign manager. No, I'm not. He's the sole candidate, sir.
Yes.
Because I heard that
others are withdrawn.
Others have withdrawn.
Yes.
So it's as good as say that he's the chairman.
Well, let's wait till that time.
Yes. And the second issue, sir. Yeah. The second issue I want to join quickly is the issue of Tinubu. You see, the truth is that immediately Tinubu was not able to install the Speaker of the House of Representatives. That is Femi Gbajabiamila. He lost interest in the governor. That the president did not support him when he was saying that Femi Gbajabiamila should become the Speaker of the House.
Okay.
So there were already friction ab initio between them when he was not able to seize of the leadership of the House of Representatives. Okay. So from there, he lost interest in the party itself. It is now, having been made the leader of reconciliation, chairman of reconciliation, that you now see him, he's just trying to be there, in quote, that okay, you have made me, but he has not dissipated the kind of energy we know him for.
At the detriment of the party.
At the detriment of the party.
Okay, let's.
So we say that this is structuring of the party.
Yeah, through the convention.
Through the convention, we put the party the right path.
Okay, will that be absolutely correct? Because you know that from a convention there are usually fallouts, disagreements, and all of that.
Yes, because it is the handling of the fallouts of a convention that determines whether the party will appropriate gains or whether it will suffer major losses. In fact, as a build-up to the convention, the party itself should be scared. And I hope by now they are putting in place a kind of bulwark to withstand the shocks that will certainly come. Because, as I speak to you, in not less than 20 of the states of this country, the APC congresses are being contested in court. I think it's only in Edo and one or two other states that you had a peaceful congress where there are no contestations. Okay. In very many others, double congresses, contested congresses, they are in court. And we know the kind of violence that attended some of these state congresses. Yeah. So if you take that temperament, that climate, that political climate to a national convention, you expect that there will be a lot. So all the forces that are looking for excuses to break away from the party may just be waiting for that kind of jugular to capitalize on.
It's Road to 2019 on independent television, satellite, channel 107 on Go TV and channel 130 on Star Times. The program is also running live on our website at www.itvradioNigeria.com/live. Use any of the social media handles to be part of the program. Our WhatsApp number was on error. You'll see it in a moment, any moment from now. Yeah, that's the WhatsApp number. Post a comment there on the discussion so far. We would like to read them. We'd like to know what you think about some of the issues that we've raised on the first part of our discussion tonight on the program Road to 2019. When we return, Chief Enko Abiola, of blessed memory, will just be conferred with the national honor, posthumous honor. That has attracted a lot of reactions from Afenifere, from I think the chairman of National Honors, Justice Alpha Begore, and a host of others. That will attract our conversation, our next line of conversation, after this short break on the Road to 2019. Join us again.
Road to 2019 on ITV, a must-watch.
Many thanks again for rejoining us on the Road to 2019 on ITV satellite, channel 107 on Go TV, channel 130 on Star Times. We'll go straight now to look at the recent conferment of a national honor on the adjudged winner of the 1993 presidential election, Chief MKO Abiola. Of course, Afenifere has reacted. Chairman National Honors Board has also reacted, and the main opposition party, the PDP, has also reacted, all against this national honor. Then, of course, the Senate also reacted to this issue. Gentlemen, once again, thank you for coming on the program. Well, let's begin with Comrade Austin Osakwe once again. The honor on Chief Enko Abiola has been hailed by many, particularly against the background now that we have the declaration of June 12 as the authentic Democracy Day. But let's start with the honor, posthumous honor on Chief Enko Abiola.
I received it with mixed feelings. Mixed feeling because, number one, this is a good thing. It's long overdue. An election was held in 1993 that shattered certain myths that had the potential of taking this country to the apex of development where it could compete with other countries in the Committee of Nations. For the first time, we had a Muslim ticket that defeated a Muslim Christian ticket. This Muslim ticket was of a Southern Muslim from the West and a Northern Muslim as vice presidential candidate. Kano State, which was the home state of Tofa, who was the NROC candidate, Abiola of the SDP from the South defeated Tofa in that state, in that election. Nigerians didn't consider ethnicity, they didn't consider religion. They came all out in an atmosphere devoid of violence and queued up to cast their votes for somebody of their choice. The military had another calculation. Results were coming out and Nigerians were jubilating because for the first time in the history of elections in this country, they were seeing the votes coming out exactly the way they cast them. And then suddenly, that unseen hand from the corner decreed that the election was annulled. No reason was given. That led to the forcing of the military out of government. The man tried to fight to reclaim that mandate given to him by Nigeria. Because the election release was inconclusive, it became a gargantuan task for him. It was in the midst of that struggle that he died about a year later. 25 years
down the road.
Nobody wanted Nigerians to remember that epic battle. Nobody wanted Nigerians to keep that matter on the front burner. Everything was done to bury it. Incidentally, they announced that May 29th had become Democracy Day. And some of us said, look, you can try to bury the truth for some time, but you can't bury it forever. The irony is that it took a Buhari to recognize that this man was worthy of honor, that he may very well have won that election. I said mixed feelings on this score. If truly Buhari wants us to believe as Nigerians that he is doing this altruistically, no hidden motive, he needs to take additional steps. Number one, he must ask the electoral body to revisit those results and announce them in full, so that Nigerians will know that their votes actually counted on June 12th. That's one. Two, having released those results, they must now announce the winner. Let Nigerians also know that the Muslim who was voted for by both Muslims and Christians, by both South, North, East, and West, actually won that election, even though he can no longer be president. And then finally, the president must go ahead to institute an inquiry into the processes that led to the annulment of that election, so that we can fully and squarely put the blame where it belongs, and then begin to take steps to punish the evildoers behind it. Because all it takes for evil to thrive is for us to just pretend that nothing has happened. We say we are good men, but we fold our arms. I said mixed feeling. On the other hand, I need to ask some potent questions. Between May 29th, when the president asked us to observe a public holiday called Democracy Day, when the president made an address to the nation and never mentioned Abiola once, never mentioned June 12 once, between that May 29th and the first few days of June, less than 1 week, what did the president see? What did he dream of? What new information did he get within less than 1 week that made him do an about turn of 360 degrees to now say that May 29th, which he adulated, where he delivered his early morning national broadcast, which he declared a public holiday for, no longer qualifies to be the Democracy Day, and suddenly it's now June 12th. Until this is resolved, until he tests Nigeria, because he needs to make another broadcast. If truly, as they have said, this one is to gain him electoral advantage from a chunk of votes somewhere in the west of Nigeria, to pacify those over there who feel left out of government and governance, then he has not done enough. He now needs to explain to us what information reached him within those few days that now made him say, look, it's no longer May 29th, it's now June 12. And in any case, was it a brainwave? Were there no set of circumstances leading to this realization? he needs to convince Nigerians, which takes us back to what I said earlier. One of the ways he can convince Nigerians, announce the results of June 12 election, declare Abiola the winner, if he's truly the winner, and institute a probe into the circumstances leading to that anomaly,
and then sanction
those who were responsible for the evil.
Mr. Daudu, we've heard some of the reactions from prominent Nigerians. A friend has described it as political because of the timing. And then, of course, the chairman of the National Honors Board also talked about absence of, constitutional provision for the conferment of GCFR posthumously. I think you expect that the main opposition party will reject or be against this kind of thing. Then, of course, the National Assembly, the Senate have also taken a position on the matter, which is not in tandem with what the executive has done or the president has done.
You see, my views, either on this platform or in any other fora, are very critical and factual. First, I will agree with my very learned brother, senior here, comrade, on his first ambit of his argument when he commended the president for his action. I agree with him, and I will answer some of his points, but I will disagree with him on the later part of it. Let me first of all agree with him that the elections results should be declared. Abiola should be declared winner. A probe should be set up. Those also involved should be punished. I agree with him. But I'm saying that we should go beyond that. My addition to that is that he should be paid the salaries that are due him as president for the 4 years he would have ruled if the election was so declared that he won. He should be paid to his family. He has families. The money or salaries accruable to a president then, I'm not saying use the correct measure, what he was supposed to be earning as president should be paid to his family. Then we will also be happy. Now let me just why I differ to him on the second bit is that the action of President Muhammadu Buhari now, to me, can be likened to the action of Donald Trump when he made Jerusalem the capital of Israel, which has been long overdue. Now we have been canvassing that June 12th should be recognized in this country and be declared as public holiday in honor of Moshood Kashimawo Abiola. That was the first election where I voted, sir. We queue on the line in our primary school, Numa Primary School. We were already eating his rice, sir. Abiola rice. So he was a man that was loved by Nigerians. Not the West, not the North, not the South, not the East. Nigerians loved him as a man who they believe was capable, not only because he was a business mogul, but because he had the interests of Nigerians at heart. So the recognition of MK Abiola is long overdue, is deserving, and as such, the president mooting the idea now, whether for political reasons or what have you, is a laudable idea and it should be commended. If these kind of proactive actions are taken at all time and purposes when issue arises, Nigeria will be better for it, because issue arise and they need solutions, and the solutions are provided, whether they are not provided promptly or without premeditated. You can take a decision now. One of my very senior colleagues said, it's better you act now. Let the action now be wrong, but you acted. Let people now even if it was even in his dream, he discovered that the president or MK Abiola should be made, should be honored. Yeah. I think it's a good policy. It's a good dream. Okay. Because we Nigerians have demanded. Over now, you could remember that most states of the West actually declared that day as a public holiday, even though they didn't say Democracy Day. But they declared it as public holiday to mark the elections and to mark the death. So, strictly, sir, if this view should be taken, apart from declaring him, what is important to the family is that the monetary value, the salaries accruable to that office should be paid to the family.
Okay, so let's take the one point after the other, as we call it, a wrap on the program. That first,
Declare the results.
The results should be declared.
Agreed.
And then he should be declared winner.
Agreed.
And then, of course, what else now?
There should be
a probe, and then the corporate sanctions are prosecuted.
Yes.
And then you added that
the salary
that were accruable to him as a president
should be paid
to his family. Anyway, that's what we call it, a wrap on the program today. Road to 2019 on independent television, satellite channel 107, Go TV, and channel 130 on Star Times. I want to say big thanks to Comrade Austin Osakwe.
Thank you very much.
And Barrister Sonny Daudu.
Thank you very much.
Be sure to join us next week, Friday, when we shall bring you a fresh edition of the program highlighting some of the key events, key happenings, key issues shaping our road to 2019 election. I've been your host, Sonny Duke Okosun. Thanking you for staying with us. Have a very good evening. Bye for now.